Even the religious leaders of the Jews recognized that they would not be able to stop the disciples if the message was actually the truth. Because then opposing the message would be opposing the truth. And it was Gamaliel who pointed this out. He said, hold it. We've got two options. Number one, if it's not the truth, let it die out naturally. Don't do anything to bring shame to our faith by committing illegal murders, like we've already done to Jesus. But also, let's acknowledge the fact that maybe it's the truth. And if it's the truth, then we're actually be on the team that's fighting against God himself. Verse 39 says, but if it is from God, you will not be able to stop these men. You will only find yourself fighting against God. By the way, that was the exact story of Saul, wasn't it? That was the exact story of Saul. Saul just confessed at the end of the book of Acts. He said, I persecuted these Christians. I went everywhere that I could, arresting them because I believed in my zeal for God that I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. And Gamaliel is saying, maybe you're wrong. Saul became a follower of Christ under the same set of circumstances in Acts chapter 9, verse 1 through 6, 15 through 16, and 19 through 22. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. This is before Saul was actually a Christian. The last passage we read was Paul's testimony about when he became a Christian. But this is the actual event where Saul was breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. And he went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any meeting in the synagogues in Damascus who were Christians, who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners and bring them back to Jerusalem. And as he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. And he fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Remember what Gamaliel said? If it's the truth, you're only going to find yourself fighting against God. And Saul says, and Jesus says to Saul, why do you persecute me? Who are you, Lord? Saul asked. And Jesus said, I am Jesus whom you are persecuting. You're fighting against God. Now, get up and go into the city, and you'll be told what you must do. So now, blinded, unable to see because of the light, Saul, with his band of soldiers, was led by hand into Damascus. And he awaited this man Ananias that was somehow going to come see him, even though he couldn't see. But the Lord said to Ananias, go. This man is my chosen instrument to proclaim my name to the Gentiles and to their kings and to the people of Israel. I will show him how much he must suffer for my name. And after Ananias then led Saul to Christ in Damascus, in verse 19 we read, Saul spent several days with the disciples in Damascus. At once he began to preach in the synagogues. The same place that he had gone to arrest these Christians, he began to preach in the synagogues that Jesus is the Son of God. All those who heard him were astonished and said, isn't this the man who raised havoc in Jerusalem among those who call on this name? And hasn't he come here to Damascus to take them as prisoners to the chief priests? Yet Saul grew more and more powerful and baffled the Jews living in Damascus by proving from the Old Testament scriptures, because remember, he sat under the feet of Gamaliel. He understood the teachings of the Old Testament, the prophecies of the Old Testament about the Messiah, and he proved from the Old Testament that Jesus was the Messiah. You see, you've probably heard the expression, the truth is the truth, even when no one believes it. A lie is a lie, even when everyone believes it. Truth does not change based upon how we respond to the truth. The truth is the truth whether we accept the truth or not. And so, Paul originally rejected the message of the gospel that Jesus was Messiah, the Savior of the world, until Jesus himself appeared to him and said, "You're fighting against God, Paul. You're fighting against God." And he's like, "Oh, you mean you really were the Messiah? Oh, man." And then all these, I'm assuming, okay, all these Old Testament prophecies flooded his mind, where David in Psalm chapter 22 wrote that they pierced his hands, they cast lots for his garments. And all these Old Testament prophecies flooded his mind, and he suddenly realized, oh man, I've been fighting against God. I've been rejecting the truth. Because he realized that the truth is the truth even when no one believes it. And a lie is a lie even if everyone believes it. The Pharisees and the Sadducees, they believed their lie. And they didn't want anybody to come to the truth. And originally, Paul thought he was proclaiming the truth when he was actually proclaiming a lie, until he met the Messiah, who graciously saved him.